and this is Delia again, and we're on the next chapter. We're still on chapter 5, and I think this is part 4. Alright, so we're on the part where it says September 5th. September 5th, actually early September 6th, about 1 a.m. Dear Diary, I should go back to bed soon. Just a few minutes ago I woke up thinking someone was shouting. But now the house is quiet. So many strange things have happened tonight that my nerves are shot, I guess. At least I woke up knowing exactly what I'm going to do about Stefan. The whole thing just sort of sprang into my mind. Plan B, Phase 1, begins tomorrow. Frances' eyes were blazing, and her cheeks were flushed with color as she approached the 3 girls at the table. "Oh, Elena, you've got to hear this." Elena smiled at her, polite but not too intimate. Frances ducked her brown head. "I mean, can I join you? I've just heard the wildest thing about Stefan Salvatore." "Have a seat," said Elena graciously, but she added, buttering a roll, "We're not really interested in the news." "You?" Frances stared. She looked at Meredith, then at Bonnie. "You guys are joking, right?" "Not at all." Meredith speared a green bean and eyed it thoughtfully. "We have other things on our minds today." "Exactly," said Bonnie after a sudden start. "Stefan's old news. You know." She bent down and rubbed her ankle. Frances looked at Elena, paling.
346 casualties, unless you're counting the local civilians.
"But I thought you wanted to know all about him."
Mr. Salvatore.
"Curiosity," Elena said. "After all, he is a visitor, and I wanted to welcome him to Fell's Church. But of course I have to be loyal to Jean Claude."
27, sir.
"Jean Claude," said Meredith, raising her eyebrows and sighing. "Jean Claude?" echoed Bonnie gamely.
The Founders Archives are stored in Civil Hall if you'd like to brush up on your facts.
Delicately, with thumb and forefinger, Elena drew a photo out of her backpack. "Here he is standing in front of the cottage where we stayed. Right afterward, he picked me a flower and said, well," she smiled mysteriously, "I shouldn't repeat it." Frances was gazing at the photo. It showed a bronzed young man, shirtless, standing in front of a hibiscus bush and smiling shyly. "He's older, isn't he?" she said, with respect. 21, of course." Elena glanced over the shoulder. "Mont would never approve. So we're keeping it from her until I graduate. We have to write to each other secretly." "How romantic," Frances breathed. "I'll never tell a soul, I promise." "But about Stefan." Elena gave her a superior smile. "If," she said, "I am going to eat continental, I prefer French to Italian every time." She turned to Meredith. "Right?" Every time." Meredith and Elena smiled knowingly at each other, then turned to Frances. "Don't you agree?" "Hi. This is my friend Belle, and she's very excited to hear Mama read the book." She smiled knowingly to herself, nodded several times as she got up and left. When she was gone, Bonnie said, "This is going to kill me, Elena. I'm going to die if I don't hear the gossip." "Oh, that. I could tell you," Elena replied calmly. She was going to say, "There's a rumor going." Let's see. "Oh, that. I can tell you," Elena replied calmly. She was going to say, "There's a rumor going around that Stefan Salvatore is a narc." "A what?" Bonnie stared and then burst into laughter. "But that's ridiculous. What narc in the world?" would dress like that and wear dark glasses. I mean, he's done everything he can to draw attention to himself. Her voice trailed off and her brown eyes darkened and widened. But then, that may be why he does it. Who would ever suspect anybody so obvious? And he does live alone. And he's awfully secretive. Elena! What if it's true? It isn't, said Meredith. How do you know? Because I'm the one who started it. At Bonnie's expression, she grinned. She wants to lay on my book. And added, Elena told me to. Oh. Bonnie looked admiringly at Elena. You're wicked. Can I tell people he's got terminal disease? No, you cannot. I don't want any Florence Nightingale. Stop now. Stop. I don't want to play right now. We gotta read right now. I'll play with you in a minute. I don't want any Florence Nightingale types lining up to hold his hand. But you can tell people whatever you want about Jean Claude. Bonnie picked up the photograph. Who was he really? The gardener? He was crazy about those hibiscus bushes. He was also married with 2 kids. Pity, said Bonnie seriously. And you told Francis not to tell anyone about him? Right. Elena checked her watch, which meant that by, say 2 o'clock, it ought to be all over the school. All right, so that's the end of the 4th chapter, and the 4th, part 4, and I'll continue up in just a few minutes.